when is using the same note over and over and over again in almost a monotone way actually really nice? This is a technique we're going to look at today during Dr. Doug's Daily Tips of How to Write Great LDS Church Music. We are looking at page 15 in the Primary Children's Songbook at the song If With All Your Hearts from the great oratorio Elijah by the German composer Felix Mendelssohn. It's a beautiful selection from that oratorio, and it's in our Primary Children's Songbook. Okay, so let's look here. There's this technique that Mendelssohn uses right at the beginning to make what you might think something that is boring actually turn out to be quite nice. And this technique gets used quite a lot, but it's one I come back to again and again, especially at the opening of a piece. This is a nice way to start a piece. Okay, so let's look at this opening line. Let me just play this for you, and then we'll dig in a little bit. Okay, did you notice the repetitive note? Every downbeat is the same note. You know, if you wrote a melody that was, it might be like, not really a melody, sounds pretty boring. Now, there are examples of melodies that start that way, like There Is a Green Hill Far Away, and that melody turns out to be quite nice. It starts very steady and very calm and doesn't really move at all, and then it goes somewhere. In this case, we're putting it in the bass, in the left hand, at the bottom of the piano keyboard, okay, at least where your hands are placed. So these repetitive B flats, how does he make them end up being nice? Well, this technique is what we call a pedal point, okay? A pedal point technique basically means it's like an organ pedal. So pretend you're playing the organ and your left foot is on the low B flat pedal and your foot falls asleep and suddenly you can't move your leg. It's dead and it just has dead weight hanging on the B flat and you can't move it. You're stuck. All you can play are B flats. What are you going to do? Well, you can still make the territory interesting by changing the chords above the pedal B flat. And because of the steady foundation of the same note in the bass, you can actually get away with some pretty interesting harmony above it. And there's one particular example here that's kind of spicy and nice. So the first chord is a one chord B flat. Now the next chord, the Primary Children's Songbook adds guitar chords, but it's not really E flat. This is really a C minor chord with a B flat in the bass. So C minor 7 with B flat in the bass, which is a 2 chord. So C minor 7 has a B flat in it, but in this case, we keep the B flat in the bass. Okay, that's not too far-fetched because B flat fits the chord. But what about the next chord? So we start with B flat. Now we're on F7. Now F7 is spelled F-A-C, E flat. There's no B flats in that chord, and yet the bass is still honking away on B flats. So we get B flat, second measure, C minor 7 with B flat on the bass, and then F7 with B flat on the bass, and then back to B flat with B flat in the bass. Okay, so the one that's really fresh is this F7 chord here. But it works just fine because, again, we have this pedal B flat going, and we can sort of get away with harmony murder here. Even though this is not harmony murder, this is very delightful, this F7 chord. The reason it has that kind of zingy, almost tang to it is because the A in the melody and the B flat in the bass, they rub up against each other because they're only a half step apart, but they're spread over a couple octaves. Okay, so it gets a bit of a tanginess, which is a strong, nice sound. And on the word hearts, right? If with all your hearts ye truly seek me. That's a great place for this chord because it's where the feels are happening. And where do we have the feels? In our hearts. So if with all your hearts ye truly resolve the chord and seek me. That's sort of what's happening there. Okay, so the technique again is, just as review, is to use a pedal bass, the first note of the left hand being the same for 4 measures in a row, and above it, the chords change. You can take this much further than just 4 chords. In fact, the whole several last minutes of the third movement of Brahms' Requiem has this huge, gorgeous fugue in D major, and the whole fugue has a pedal D in the low bass. But a fugue changes keys, like it goes to the 5 chord, and Brahms takes it a few other places, yet the whole time there's this pedal D, honk, honk, down on the bottom, and it's fantastic. It gives this like super rock solid foundation through the whole thing. So it's a great composer technique that you can use all over the place, not just in primary songs or hymns. All right, that's your composer gem for today. Hope you enjoyed that. If you'd like some more free tips, head over to latterdaymusiversity.com where you can get your free report, The 10 Commandments of Writing Testimony Building Warm Fuzzy Music. Hope you enjoy that, and come back tomorrow. We will look at primary song on page 16 for more composer gems. See you then.